They say suffering is weakness, leaving the body. But that's a lie told by the comfortable. True suffering, the kind that burns beneath the skin, the kind that silences your soul and bends your knees, doesn't leave. It transforms. It carves you into something unrecognizable to the world, and in that crucible you're faced with a choice: collapse and curse the sky, or rise wordless, like a storm that doesn't ask for permission. This isn't about winning. This isn't about applause. This is about choosing to stand up one more time when your bones scream for surrender, when everything in you says quit, but your essence says not yet. And if you can hear that whisper, if something deep inside you is stirring right now, you already know this video was made for you. Because once you awaken that side of you, there is no going back. This is not motivation. This is resurrection, and it begins right now. You are not here by accident. You were drawn to these words because something inside you refuses to die quietly. You've been lied to all your life, taught to fear discomfort, to beg for ease, to shrink your spirit to fit the fragile expectations of a world built on shortcuts and cowardice. But Stoicism? Stoicism doesn't care how you feel. It demands how you act. It doesn't offer comfort, it offers confrontation. Confrontation with your fears, your excuses, your impulses, your weakness. This is a philosophy not for the faint of heart, but for the ones who have suffered enough to finally say, enough. So if you're ready to go deeper than inspiration, if you're ready to walk through fire and come out unburnt, then stay with us. Because what comes next may just wake up the strongest version of you you've ever known. Subscribe now, not for entertainment, but because you know this is the path. Watch till the end, and I promise you'll never be the same again. The unseen enemy within. There's a moment in every person's life when the weight becomes unbearable, when your chest tightens, your thoughts turn loud, and your strength begins to flicker. That's the moment most people fold. That's the moment they say, I've done enough, and they lie to themselves just enough to walk away in silence, hoping no one saw the cracks forming. But here's the bitter truth. It's not the world that breaks you. It's your own softness. It's your addiction to comfort. It's the silent poison of self-pity that creeps into your soul when the pressure rises. A true Stoic understands this war. We don't wait for peace. We become the peace in the middle of chaos. When you say, I can't take it anymore, that is the precise moment to take even more. Because that's where transformation begins, not in comfort, but in the fire. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Let that sink in. The obstacle isn't your enemy, it's your initiation. We've been conditioned to complain as a form of relief, to vomit our frustrations into the world, hoping someone will catch them and give us a gentle pat on the back. But a Stoic doesn't do that. We bite down. We absorb the storm without theatrics, not because we feel nothing, but because we are ruled by reason, not impulse. Seneca taught that a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. If your life is absent of pain, it's also absent of growth. The man who whines, who blames, who throws his burden at the feet of the world, he is not living, he is retreating. But the one who bears it all silently, who transforms every wound into wisdom, he becomes untouchable. You cannot destroy a man who does not run from suffering. You cannot break a soul that has chosen to embrace pain as part of its nature. There is an unmatched power in restraint. Complaining is noise. Discipline is thunder in silence. We are not built for weakness disguised as emotional release. We are built for endurance, carved by the weight we carry in solitude. Settling is spiritual death. It's the quiet decision to stop ascending. It's the moment you choose the known over the possible, comfort over conquest, sleep over sacrifice. And while the world claps for your balance and praises your realism, your potential dies screaming inside you. Epictetus warned, "You become what you give your attention to." If you give your attention to mediocrity, if you feed your soul with excuses and decorate your cage with pretty words, don't be surprised when you wake up one day a ghost in your own skin. The Stoic does not settle because he understands time is short, and excellence is not a gift. It is a daily war against the temptation to stop. He does not chase greatness. He commands it by refusing to be anything less, and he never waits for permission. To settle is to betray the very reason you were born. You are not here to cope. You are here to conquer yourself. We are at war, not with others, but with the frailty within. Every day you choose to get up and act with courage. When quitting would be easier, you are becoming something rare, something powerful, something terrifying to those who live on their knees. You must never quit. You must never complain. You must never settle. These are not just rules. They are vows, etched in the blood of the ancients and passed down in silence. And if this speaks to the part of you that refuses to die quietly, then stay with us. Because in the next chapter we go deeper into the psychology of emotional mastery and expose the ancient Stoic strategy that makes you immune to manipulation, rejection, and loss. Subscribe now and prepare yourself. What's coming next will change how you suffer forever. The master of emotion is the master of fate. Every empire that crumbled, every war that was lost, every man that drowned in regret, none of it began with defeat. It began with emotion, with anger untamed, desire uncontrolled, fear unmastered. We often believe our enemies are external, people, problems, pressure, but that's the illusion that keeps the weak chasing shadows. The real enemy is inside. It always was. Marcus Aurelius knew this when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." And yet we've been raised by a culture that worships reaction, that equates being expressive with being alive. But Stoicism is the philosophy of restraint, not silence, but sovereignty. You are not a slave to the winds of emotion. You are not meant to be a puppet of passing moods. When someone disrespects you, it is not your duty to explode. When life disappoints you, it is not your path to collapse. When love is lost, it is not your permission to decay. The one who masters his emotions becomes untouchable because no one, nothing, has power over him. And make no mistake, until you own your emotions, someone else will. The Stoic does not feel less. He feels deeper, but he does not obey those feelings. He observes them like clouds, rising, shifting, then passing. He understands that emotion is energy, but direction is power. We live in an era where people are addicted to outrage, enslaved by anxiety, and led by lusts they can't even name. But you must ask yourself, what kind of life is it to be ruled by every whim, to cry for help every time you are scratched by discomfort? Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Most will live and die without ever realizing that truth. You are not most. The moment you choose to discipline your internal world, the external world bows in time. No woman, no enemy, no betrayal, no failure can move a man who has made peace with his own fire. You will still feel anger, grief, desire, but you will choose what to do with that feeling. You will become the architect of your own fate, not the victim of emotional chaos. And that is where your transformation begins. Ask yourself one question. Who are you when no one is watching and everything in your heart is screaming? Who are you when you're betrayed, abandoned, humiliated? That is the moment that reveals your soul. That is the moment where the Stoic is born or broken. You must decide right now that you will not be defined by emotional reflexes. that you will not be a man dragged by moods, but a man driven by principles. Every outburst you silence, every desire you delay, every insult you ignore, you are sharpening your will into a blade. And one day when the world expects you to break, to beg, to fall, you will rise in quiet defiance, because you trained for this, because you are not soft, because you are stoic. And if this truth is vibrating in your chest right now, if you feel it gripping you like a hand from the underworld pulling you to rise, then don't stop. The next chapter goes even deeper into the art of voluntary suffering and how to weaponize discomfort until pain becomes your ally. Subscribe now and meet the version of yourself that no longer runs from fire, but walks into it smiling. The art of voluntary suffering. They fear pain because they've never tasted its true purpose. They run from discomfort as if it were a curse, when in truth, it's a divine invitation, an invitation to become more than you are. The world has lied to you. It told you that pain is to be avoided, numbed, softened with distractions, dulled with comforts, and silenced with noise. But the ancients knew better. Seneca, in his letters, reminded us that we must undergo a hard winter training and not rush into things for which we haven't prepared. In other words, if you don't embrace voluntary suffering now, life will force you into it later. And when that day comes, you won't be ready. A Stoic chooses pain before it arrives, not to prove anything to anyone, not to flex for the crowd, but to forge himself in silence. He fasts not because he lacks, but to show that hunger holds no chains over him. He rises at dawn not because he's forced to, but because the world is still sleeping, and this is where strength is born. He walks into the cold, not because he enjoys it, but because if he can master the cold, then nothing else can control him. Voluntary discomfort isn't suffering for the sake of suffering. It's an act of rebellion against dependency. It's a training ground for the soul. There is a version of you trapped beneath layers of softness, chained by comfort, numbed by routine. That version does not need a motivational quote. It needs pressure. It needs resistance. And that's where voluntary hardship comes in. It awakens the sleeping warrior. The Stoics understood that ease is deceptive, a silent killer that rots the bones before you even notice. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You should be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved and the raging of the sea falls still around it. But how do you become that rock? You put yourself in the storm before life throws you into one. You go without. You push your body. You silence comfort. And in that silence, something holy awakens. A sharpness, a fire, the realization that suffering is not your enemy. It is your teacher. And every moment you face it on your own terms, you rob life of its power to break you. Because the one who chooses to suffer now will never be caught off guard later. He is not seeking an easy life. He is seeking an unshakable spirit. When the world asks, "Why would you put yourself through this?" your answer is silence. Because they wouldn't understand. Because they weren't meant to. Because they are still asleep. But you are waking up. You are beginning to see that the pain you choose today is the power you wield tomorrow. And that power doesn't come from outside, it rises from within. It's the look in your eye when everything is falling apart and you don't flinch. It's the stillness in your breath when everyone else is panicking. And if you've come this far, it means the old version of you is starting to fade. You're stepping into something deeper, darker, stronger. So don't stop now. Because in the next chapter, we uncover the Stoic secret of death rehearsal, how memento mori can erase fear and awaken unstoppable clarity. Subscribe now and prepare to meet the version of you who no longer fears the end, because he's already died before.